to the Scamslam channel. I'm here to bring you content from both shady and some not so shady individuals on TikTok. Ever scrolled through your For You page and come across a sketchy scam or a questionable character? Well, you're not alone, and that's where I come in. On this channel, I'll be diving deep into the world of TikTok to expose scams, scammers, and problematic content to steer clear of. From beggars, scammers, fakers, liars, abusers, and awareness creators that you watch, I'll be here to share it all. I'll be doing it all through showing live streams and adding in comments where appropriate. Be sure to look out for those red flags. So if you want to stay informed on what's really going on in the world of TikTok, then hit that subscribe button and join me on this wild ride. Let's expose the truth together, and reminder, don't send money to anyone on TikTok. Hey y'all, so I'm going to do a little catch-up session for Jamie Jo Brannon. This is 3 different live streams. The first one is from October 24th. The next one is October 28th. And the other one is from today, November 2nd. I have seen the first 2. I haven't watched the one for November 2nd today yet. But let's watch and catch up with what's been going on with her. I know that part of what I heard in the first one was that she was kicked out of the safe house. And she'll explain why. It's pretty ironic. I'll try to point out some things as we go along here, but I have videos from months ago where she praised this safe house and said how amazing it was and how grateful she was for it, and they let her and her 2 dogs stay there. And she talked about what an amazing program it was and how they helped so many people. And now she's bashing it. And this is not the first time I've seen this. She's done this before in every living situation she's been in. I've seen her in 3 different living situations. And every time she ends up having some kind of conflict, she ends up getting kicked out. And then she ends up bashing the person that she was living with or the place where she was staying and makes a bunch of false accusations on them. I've seen that this is like the 4th time I've seen her do something like this. So this is typical. I don't tend to believe anything she says about the Safe House program. Because again, I believe she's just bashing the place because she takes no accountability. She takes no accountability when she has a conflict with someone and makes threats, gets angry. I mean, this is what she does. She tries to always act like she's this wonderful, helpful person, and that she, how do I want to put it? That she didn't do anything in her past. You know, basically, she's just a good person and she was just the victim all her life. And that is not true. That could not be further from the truth. She has very extensive criminal histories in both Florida and Pennsylvania, probably some other states too. And they're very serious charges. She has multiple felony charges. She has charges against her own children. So, don't believe the stuff she's saying. She does not run a dog rescue. She does not have a 24-hour hotline. It's not a legit dog rescue. She does not have a 501c3. None of that. So just please keep all of this in mind and don't fall for her lies. Thanks for watching.
Safe house for human trafficking, domestic violence survivors should allow substance and alcohol use. And please, guys, stop scrolling. Listen to what I'm saying. Please, please, please. If anybody's ever done addiction awareness, this is going to be the most important thing that you could ever walk in on and start to stand up for. And I'm pleading with you. And I'm pleading with any survivor of a crime that's been in a safe house. In the 5 years the government has numbered and moved me around as a survivor of human trafficking through crack houses and bad motels and being re-kidnapped with police reports, and this is fact, I landed myself into a safe house. I had no idea, because this kind of behavior has not ever been acceptable in our state. I had no idea that I was walking into a safe house turned flop house. When I got there, it was a 6-month program You had a curfew. You couldn't bring people on the property. Typical safe house. You have a card, a number to get in and out. Safe house. Over the period of the summer, with all this left stuff and right stuff, and I'm not taking either side, I'm telling you what happened. We now have transgenderism, men, abusers, homeless people, fabricating stories to get into the flop house. Okay?
I believe that she fabricated stories to get into the safe house, but let's listen.
People quit all summer long from the safe house I was at. Some of the best advocates that touched my heart and helped me through the hardest times of my life quit out of the blue. Shortly after about 4 or 5 people quit, we started getting notices that they were getting all this grant money. And this is what happens when people not experienced of handling large sums of money for nonprofits. And it happens in dog rescue too. Please listen to what I'm telling you. So they wanted to make it independent living. Then let me reiterate something here. A safe house is for a victim of a fucking crime. It's not a flop house. It's not a hangout. It shouldn't be somewhere where boyfriends can come. It should not be where somebody could sit in their room and drink all night and put their kids on the school bus the next morning. Okay? People going through trauma do not need a depressant to get through the struggle. I've tried every which way. I quit drinking and doing drugs because, quite frankly, I did so many it's enjoyable anymore. And I'm not bragging about this. I am putting this out there because this is life and death for people.
So remember what she says here. She stopped doing all alcohol and drugs.
Okay? As a matter of fact, most long-term human trafficking and domestic violence programs require you to drug test. So when I stood up and said something about this and I was knocked down, they also allow pets there, which is great because it allowed me to have mine. However, long term, no, pets should not be allowed in a domestic violence shelter.
So it was okay for her to have her 2 dogs there long term, but for no one else. Got it.
Not even mine. Not even my protector right here. A safe house is not a place to entertain pets. Now listen what I'm telling you. Anybody utilizing a safe house should have a life or death situation.
She did not have a life or death situation. She was homeless. Prior to this, she had been living in a camper and got into some kind of dispute with the property owner. Probably did not pay the fees to keep her camper on the land. She ended up selling her camper, then was living in and out of hotels for quite a while. After she couldn't stay at the hotel anymore because there was some kind of dispute there, she decided to bash the hotel and claim that the hotel was doing all types of illegal things. So, yeah, she was left homeless and ended up at this safe house.
It shouldn't be somebody homeless or somebody that argued with a boyfriend. I have a federal agent that lost his citizenship and is threatening my life with this secret-keeping society.
I have not found proof of any of that.
My case number with Polaris ends in 872529. I can get on my other phone right now, make a call, play it for you guys to hear, and you can hear the depths of my situation. Now, I'm in recovery 21 years off of opiates.
I'm fairly certain that is not true either because I reviewed her criminal records and I am fairly certain that she has had criminal charges for drugs over the past 21 years.
Okay? Look, listen, Linda, and all the Karens out there. Slow your fucking roll. Alcohol and drugs should not be able to be utilized in any domestic violence or human trafficking safe house. If you want to live in a homeless shelter and have an open door policy, that's great. That's your choice to be homeless. That's your choice to be out there getting high and drinking. If you are a victim of crime in a safe house, you have no fucking business drinking or getting high. And this is coming from somebody that used to do this shit on a daily basis. It did not matter what it was. As long as it made me feel different than my everyday feeling, it was a plus. I have worked extremely hard for my sobriety. Okay. Survivors across the United States, do not entertain a domestic violence or human trafficking safe house that allows the use of substances and alcohol. Please. Please. Take it from somebody that's been there. You will lose everything. You will start drinking. You will start using. Thankfully for me, I went out and drank one night and went back there and cussed these people out.
Okay, so this is the ironic part. She just said that anyone staying in a safe house program should not be using any drugs or alcohol. And now she just admitted that she got drunk and went back to the safe house and cussed them out. And that's why she got kicked out. And now she's complaining about other people doing those types of things when she admits she did that. And remember, in the beginning, she said that she has not done any drugs or alcohol, that she gave all that up. And now she's admitting she got drunk and cussed out the staff at the safe house. And that's why she got kicked out. And now she's going to bash the safe house program. Wow.
For allowing such behaviors inside of a... You're allowing them to drink only in the confines of their room. So now these kids who may have come from a domestic violence situation or a human trafficking situation, who have been through fucking hell already, now have to be in a fucking safe house that is supposed to give them comfort and safety around the use of alcohol, which more than likely happened in their life before going to the fucking safe house. There are autistic children. How the fuck are you drinking your life away all night and homeschooling your autistic son? Listen, how are you on an expired visa and I get kicked out for bringing these issues up right here and being told I was intimidating them? Let me explain to you. I am back in an RV, guys, because I'm a child and animal advocate. At the end of the fucking day, I don't care who you are. I could kick him back all day long as an alcoholic. Do I have the right to do that around my child or anybody else's in a traumatic situation in a safe house? Nobody should. So are you telling me that it's okay for the volunteers to go tie a good one on and come into work because, hey, we can drink here now? Alcohol alters the way you think. Any substance does, but it is a depressant and alcohol and addiction issues. So now we're going to pay to house these people. All the state is funding the safe house. Active alcoholism and addiction leads to death, jails, institution of not just you, but your children, your family members. My son took his life. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. I was the addict of the worst kind. I would shoot up Jack Daniels if I could not find what I needed, because I needed that depressant. Now we live in a society where safe houses are telling recovering addicts and alcoholics, you might have 20 years clean, but if you want to stay here, you have to... I don't even drink alcohol, liquor.
Did she forget that she just admitted that she got drunk and then went to the safe house and cussed out the staff and intimidated them?
Like, when I was younger, an automatic prison sentence, and I wouldn't stop. Why? Because I was dealing with SA. I was dealing with child abuse. And instead of dealing with it the right way, I picked up alcohol. And then I picked up substances. Now we're just going to make it easy. Victims of crime can just sit and wallow in a depressant of alcohol, and they can use anything they want and come back here around all the kids in the house. No, listen, I'm not hearing this. Okay? These are not safe houses. These are flop houses. This is what homeless shelters should be addressing. not somebody that was in a safe house with a case number from Polaris as a human trafficking survivor. But now I'm off grid. But let's not forget that I'm dealing with Jose, a psychotic man from Cuba who just lost his citizenship, on the run from ICE, fired from Homeland Security, that threatened my life with the Cuban Secret Society.
Again, I've seen no evidence of that. However, the individual that she's speaking of, I've seen pictures of her and that guy all hugged up together like they were boyfriend-girlfriend for a period of time. So there's that.
Which is why I was placed in that place. So it just, you know what? My Lord Jesus and my God said, not today, Satan. And I rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus. I promise you I do. I didn't go off the deep end. I'm not drinking liquor.
She literally just admitted it.
And not doing schmugs. But it could very well have happened that way. Because the safe house that was put in place to keep me safe is allowing substance and alcohol use on the premises, where people are homeschooling their kids and living with them. And I remember in the beginning of the summer, they kicked a young mother with a 2-year-old baby out of the same safe house for doing exactly what they're allowing to happen now. And this young mother and that child was homeless. But they covered it up and made reasons, oh, they were native, they were doing this, they were doing that. Look, I'm going to be the first motherfucker to tell you, there are some really nasty people out here. It doesn't matter if they're white or native. But this is what I have to say to the Native community. Under no circumstance should any MMIW survivor or a person that's been missing be denied. I brought 13 dogs back. And they're at Heart of the Valley shelter right now, and this is why.
So she claims to run a dog rescue. She claims that she got 13 dogs from California, many of which were from the San Bernardino shelter, and then transported them back to Montana and put them into a different shelter. How is that a dog rescue? You took them from one state in a shelter and took them to another state in a different shelter. She had previously claimed she had homes for these dogs or was going to find homes for those dogs, but she did not. She took them to another shelter.
I am fleeing domestic violence. I went to California for 4 dogs. I brought 13 back. I am so against the trafficking of humans and dogs. I will do everything in my power to report any suspected case of human or dog trafficking.
It kind of sounds like you might have trafficked dogs from California to Montana, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Have all been listed, red code, medical, what is that, distemper, the zoo shit. Not one of the 20 have been sick. Hello. Not one of my dogs in history have ever had to be euthanized except for one pit bull that attacked 3 children. And at that point, we had to, as a rescue and other rescues that coordinated together, it had to be done. We don't euthanize in, in Montana. So, I don't really read messages, guys. I get very distracted, and I think it's very important. I want to reach out. If you're in my live, I am doing a live opposing the use of alcohol and substances inside safe houses for victims of crime. I have recently been kicked out of a safe house for complaining about their allowing the use of alcohol on the premises where children are being housed, homeschooled, and I'm not okay with this. Over a period of the summer, I have watched multiple advocates quit. I have watched people get kicked out of the safe house for exactly that, for drinking.
But she never mentioned any of this before, over the summer, or any of that. Never mentioned any of that stuff until now. until she's kicked out, and now she wants to bash the Safe House program.
With babies. Now you're going to allow it. You got a big grant. And this is what happens when small nonprofits get big lump sums of money. They're getting these grants and misusing them. Why should a fucking nonprofit for trafficking and domestic violence survivors be utilizing grant money to house people and allowing them to use substances and alcohol? Alcohol and substances. Now it's not even safe to go to a safe house anymore because America has deemed independent living that we should be able to be transgender, that we should be able to use substances and alcohol in places that are locked down for our safety. Living of animals and children when I was trafficked. So if I go into this safe house and I tie a good one on and start having flashbacks, it's not my fault, right? Because they said that's where the problem is. I'm saying this hypothetically. This is a problem, people. Stop funding nonprofits that allow the use of alcohol and drugs on their premises. This is happening in Montana. Believe it. Believe it. Go ahead and look up your shelters in Montana. Find out which ones are open door. Find out which ones allow you to keep your dogs with you, even if they're not service animals, endangering the household. Find out which ones allow alcohol use on the property inside your room, around your children, while you're recovering from a traumatic situation that requires a police report number to get you there. So, you know, I'm going to stand by what I know. I don't care if you see me with the beer in my hand tomorrow. I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm being 100% fucking real.
Yes, you are 100% being a hypocrite.
This is an abomination. This allowing alcohol and drug use inside of safe houses for victims of crime is as bad as euthanizing healthy animals and pets. People, pay attention. Pay attention. I know you guys don't want to hear it. I know you guys think it's drama. My trauma is not fucking drama. It's very real. And it's taken a lot of years to get through it and deal with it without wanting to fucking lose my mind. Let me tell you something. My son unalived himself on Facebook Live after witnessing domestic violence and being bullied and having nowhere to go because of my drug and alcohol problems. Should I lie to the world? I didn't tell you how much alcohol and drugs I picked up after this happened. Okay? I didn't tell you all the wrong ways I tried to deal with it. It didn't bring him back. As much as I wanted everything in this world, I wanted my son back. I had to take accountability that I had given up on myself and had no idea what self-love was because his father shared me with every dealer in the area to get free schmugs to sell so that he can have the newest of everything. I'm just saying, man, there's got to be a change. And when domestic violence safe houses and human trafficking safe houses allow the use of alcohol and substances on the premises, no. You're allowing people to fall back on crutches and not deal with trauma. You're allowing people to make excuses and think that it is okay to numb themselves at the expense of every little thing that happens in life. I am 50 years old. I never worked long enough to pull a 401k until I was too old to, I'll never see it. I can't go back and change anything. I can't go back and bring my son back. However, I work every day, whether it's doing something on the books, off the books, volunteer, nonprofit. And I'm asking people to please share this information. It is not okay to use drugs and alcohol in a safe house. If you are going to a safe house that allows these things, get out and find a real safe house. That is not a safe house. That is a small nonprofit getting money and grants and not knowing how to utilize it properly. It really, what I see is they took in domestic violence and human trafficking survivors. I see that they're allowing substance use. I see that you're allowed to drink on the premises. I see they allow a lot of stealing inside of the place. They allow pets. They don't have to be service animals. And even a pet there while I was there. This is not a good fucking idea, people. You don't leave an abusive situation with an animal that's also in trauma and go live in a household with other animals and people that are in trauma, and the animals are not trained like a service animal. There's going to be a problem.
By the way, her dogs that she had in the safe house are not trained service animals.
And they're getting all these grants that they can afford, $500 vet bills for every dog that goes. Oh, you got $8,000 a month, $10,000 a month from whatever donor or sponsorship you got with this nonprofit safe house that is no longer safe and turned into a flop house. Okay? Now you're just letting pets run all over. You don't enforce rules. My dog had a large breed, and I mean Great Dane, big, walking through the hallways on a daily basis off the leash, walking right into my bedroom because it was hot. There was no air conditioning. Now explain this to me. How does this safe house turned flop house have all this money, let people drink, and pay all this stuff for dogs, but you can't obtain shampoo, conditioner, clothing, shoes?
So she and her dogs had a free place to stay there at the safe house for months. But she thinks that she should have gotten more, right? She should have gotten shampoo and conditioner and clothes and shoes and that they were supposed to supply her with all of her needs, right? Sounds ungrateful to me.
It's basically a flop house. And I'm asking you, anybody that needs to help to get into a validated safe house, please reach out to me.
If you reach out to her, she will ignore you. She does not have the resources she claims to have. She does not run a hotline helping victims of trafficking and DV and all like she claims. She has not, I have not found no proof or record of her helping anyone. And people have tried to message her and she does not reply back. There is no hotline phone number, none of that. She's lying.
I've gone every which way, up, down, wrong, right. I've struggled most of my life. When my son took his life, I had to make a decision. You know, and the fact of the matter is, no matter how much my daughters hate me, I'm a mom. I'm a mom to kids that never had a family. My kids, all of them, were told that they were abused, neglected. Police reports show no findings of abuse or neglect.
That is a lie because I have seen the criminal charges that she had in Florida. That is a lie.
Hospital reports, no signs of abuse or neglect towards my children. I was going through domestic violence with their father. He came home with a firearm and used it. And that is what led up to the issues with my kids.
That is not true because you have child abuse charges. You.
So, my son, I obtained back at a later date. My daughters, milled through the foster care system. My mother does not even have a picture of these kids in her house anywhere. So when my son, and as a mother, I didn't have an option because I don't get to stop being a mom. Not to kids that are no longer here. You don't get to stop being a mom to kids that hate you. You don't get to stop being a mom when they turn 18. Let's face the facts. You brought life into this world. And that is a lifelong responsibility. And had I not been, I am 50 years old. I've been through foster care and all kinds of things through the abuse cycle of my life. That started with my adoptive mother. And no longer continues because I have stopped all contact with everybody in my family, even my godmother, which about killed me.
She has very conflicting stories about her childhood. I have older videos of her where she claims she had a wonderful childhood, that they were very well-to-do, and that she was even on like a TV show as a child and all kinds of stuff. But then she has this other story. Sometimes she also claims that her mother kicked her out. Sometimes she claims she ended up in foster care. And other times she claims that she ran off with her boyfriend and left the family home at a young age. So she has multiple different stories about that too.
I'm not a TV show. I'm not willing to let them make a movie or write a book about what happened to me. It's not Hollywood. I went missing for 10 months. I watched the unaliving of pets, animals, children. The police were coming in and buying us. Human trafficking is beyond real. And the recovery from it, well, let's see. When the Fed assigned your case threatens your whole well-being and you start moving around, do you know what it's like? Kind of like these dogs in the shelters that I rescued, safe shelters. You get abused, re-kidnapped, re-SA, physical, mental abuse, human trafficking. Survivors have a lot of trauma. And the reality of it is the government's so far deep involved in this shit. I don't care. I'm always going to stand by the truth. I'm off grid. And quite frankly, I'm just at a point I don't care anymore. I stood up for the safety of children and was exited from a fucking safe house.
No, it's because you showed up there drunk and you cussed out the staff to the point they felt intimidated and they kicked you out.
I didn't say, I think I might know what could happen here. No, I'm an alcoholic. And you're giving me a free rein to come in here and drink and be an asshole around other people in trauma and their children. You're allowing the parents to do this around their children. And this is a safe house. It's like these fake religions out there. Look, this is what I have to say to everybody. Keep us in prayer. I am not a scam artist. I do very validated rescue work.
You are a scam artist and you do not do legitimate rescue work.
I don't ever come on here and ask for money.
You are a liar because I have tons of videos of you asking for money.
I might ask somebody to send some dog food or some food every now and then. One thing I don't do is scam or beg.
You 100% scam and beg.
I am sincerely raising awareness right now against unsafe, safe houses. I'm talking about people like me with case numbers from the government, police reports that get you into one of these places.
Where are those police reports?
Stop handing them alcohol and schmugs and telling them it's okay. You are creating an environment of people, now that you've gotten all this grant money, you're creating an environment of trauma victims that do not have to have any intuition or have to go out and get jobs or have to have people watch their kids. You are giving out years worth of rent for free to people so they could be lazy and not be parents and use substances and alcohol in the process. And you're paying their rent for a year. You're fixing their fucking cars. While people working 2 and 3 jobs are getting exited for voicing out this is not a safe house. Now you've turned it into a flop house.
You do not have 2 and 3 jobs. You don't even have 1 job.
But what kind of domestic violence and human trafficking and child and animal advocate would I be to be a fucking hypocrite? Look, our children are our future. Now, I can't go back and change what has been done with my children, not even my grandchildren at this point. But I'm not going to just sit back and say that what society accepts today is okay, especially when people are walking in and out with open containers and drinking freely in a fucking safe house meant to keep children and survivors of crime, men and women, safe. There's nothing safe about drowning away your issues in alcohol. There is no reason to use alcohol in a situation like that. So, personal opinion, if you're sitting there drinking like I was, because it was allowed, you have a problem and you need to address it. And a safe house is not where you need to be. Maybe a rehab. Thank God I had a drink one day and blew up about this and said, now look at what could happen and what is happening because you're allowing this fuckery to happen because you got a little bit of money. They got a little bit of money, gave out a year's worth of fucking rent, cut out the people at work, gave it to all the people that have been there for 6 to 12 months without jobs, just sitting there doing nothing.
That's what you were doing. You didn't have a job.
And have kicked out people who were working with babies, 2 jobs, to allow people to sit and use the welfare system. Homeless people who will lie about being survivors of crime.
Wow, it's crazy that you're saying that because that's exactly what you're doing. It sounds like a self-admission right there.
Getting a free ride. While survivors of crime are sitting like this off-grid in the middle of the fucking Montana wilderness with my 2 dogs for standing up for what is right. On top of that, I have a bunch of networkers up my ass on Facebook thinking I abused or abandoned 13 dogs. Listen, whistle nuts. All these dogs are at Heart of the Valley because I'm fleeing domestic violence and nobody wanted to pay their pledges and I'm thousands out of pocket on the run for my life.
No, you're not.
No, I don't have time for the bullshit. I really don't. I really don't. I took them into a local nonprofit that has a shelter. I don't have a shelter or kennel. I am not a big rescue.
You are not any rescue.
I went to pick up 4 dogs and brought 13 back. And ungrateful networkers who are more worried about the money aspect of rescue on this stupid pledge shit than the fact that all these dogs are now fixed, vaccinated, because San Bernardino handed 10 dogs over that were not fixed and didn't even have a rabies vaccine. I've got all the paperwork and the proof. My local shelter and I are working together to build a case against fucking Los Angeles shelters right now. And in the meantime, I'm sitting here fucking raising awareness and getting bashed on, having shit talked on me. Have I asked anybody for anything but prayers?
You're usually asking for money.
No. If somebody honored a pledge, if it was for a dog with the medical, send it right to the vet. I'm not about the money. But when I'm thousands in debt and I'm being slandered and the option of a safe house has been removed due to the inability to agree to disagree, because I'm never, ever, ever going to agree to the use of alcohol in safe houses where children are homeschooled and being saved from domestic violence and human trafficking situations. That's it. You tell me. I know as a child I'd be pretty fucking confused if me and my mom ran from a domestic violence situation or me and my dad ran from one of these situations and they were a thing. You're re-traumatizing trauma victims and you're allowing them to deal with their shit inappropriately. And it's going to affect society as a whole. It's not okay. And if you're struggling with alcohol and addiction, look, I'm not perfect, but reach out to me, man. I'll help you find a rehab or get into a safe house. I run a 24-hour line. It's always open, guys.
100% false. She does not do these things trying to assist victims. She does not run a 24-hour hotline. This is all false.
People started to realize I don't keep crazy hours. I run a 24-hour hotline for anybody in need, whether it's food, clothing, homelessness, victim of crime, child abuse. If you need help, my number is up 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, what number is that? What phone number is that to call? There is no phone number to call. There is none.
I have to say that I've been abused since the age of 3, and I mean sexually. Had somebody offered this, there's so many times that I could have gotten help, and I can't save the world, and I can't help all of the animals that I would like to. But for everyone that I do help, I know that that person is relieved of the feeling of fear and abandonment that I grew up with my whole life. And if you need no religious cults, no nothing, I promise you, I will help you get into somewhere appropriate. Don't go where they normalize the use of alcohol and substances. That is not the way to get through trauma. I've tried, and I'm telling you. 50 years old, living off grid, a domestic violence advocate who just left my boyfriend and had to get 3 police reports for abuse he has shown on me. I brought their things and left everything but the clothes on my back. That's how serious it was. And the shelter that kicked me out gracefully is supplying me with what I need for my dogs. However, I'm not eligible for 6 months for any kind of housing with them because I spoke out against the use of alcohol on safe house property. I don't ask for any kind of donations, pledging. Share my profile. Share my information. I truly can and will help anybody or animal in need. Like I said, I'm off grid. I'm not a scammer.
You're definitely a scammer.
I'm a survivor. And I'm in a position where survivors help victims turn into survivors. Because victims, we victimize each other, honeys. My loves, that's not the way to go. We're losing generations of children and grandchildren to completely wrong morals, and there's no humanitarianism. I have to say, one of the worst things I've ever seen is, well, we learned the hard way about helping so-and-so. They didn't deserve it. And did you hear what they spent that money on? Listen, Linda, all this fake Christianity bullshit, stop. You can help somebody or you can't. Stop humiliating and degrading people that need help. I don't care if they're homeless, addicted, or not. You can help somebody or you can't. Why or what they need help for. You can or you can't. Stop personalizing everybody else's situation and bringing people down that really need help. You'll know the difference between somebody needing a hand up and a hand out. It's your decision on what you offer and what you make yourself available for. Take accountability. People complicate the most simple things in life. And this is what I have to say to you. I've seen the Lord Jesus with my eyes. I'm not a druggie. I'm not crazy. I'm being honest with you. I don't go to church. I don't become a part of any kind of cult-like behavior, idolatry. I don't greed money. I am living off grid on food bank food to stand up for what I believe is right in the best interest of children and survivors of crime. And I'm okay with that. I'm never going to stand down in what I was raised to believe in, what is right for a child. So with that, I am going to start my day, guys. I know I haven't been on in a really long time. I'm going to have more information for all this that's going on as well. God bless you guys, and sharing is caring. We're not going to stop crime in the world, but awareness is what brings more safety into communities. And you don't have to like me, but what I share is factual and life-saving. Take care of each other. God bless. Call that friend you haven't heard from in a day or two. Make sure everybody's okay. You know, I don't think there's anything worse than not having anybody check to see if I'm alive every day. But I know what my purpose is, to carry out and be an instrument of the Lord. I could have become a monster through everything I survived. I really should have, but I didn't. I'm not asking for fame. I have not even 5,000 followers. I just ask that you share my profile. You share my phone number to anybody that may need it. And please call your kids and let them know how much you love them today. Don't use alcohol and substances in front of your kids, guys. It doesn't matter if you're an addict or alcoholic or not. Please.
So again, that clip was from October 24th. This next one is from October 28th. It's about 16 to 17 minutes. And it looks like she's in a hotel. What happened to the RV living off grid? I guess we'll find out.
I love you too, honey. I also go into shelters where I feel that dogs are being abused, mistreated, bred. I love you too, honey. Where they're being abused in the shelter. Last year, if you remember, I pulled a whole bunch of dogs from East Valley in California. These dogs were all deemed red code only, large breed, they can't be handled, so forth. That's one of them right there. In her bumblebee costume that is an ESA and plays with kids and doesn't bite anybody. She's a Rottweiler. She mouths when she plays. Okay. In California, it is illegal to put dogs down for space. I was inside of San Bernardino. What I saw horrified me. And I've been doing this for a long time. I brought back a dog to Montana after going to California, and the dog was in the shelter for so time. This dog was so skinny that I immediately brought her here and surrendered her to local animal control, and it's a rescue shelter here. We don't euthanize normally in the state of Montana. I'm investigating a shelter that is acting inappropriately now, but we normally, euthanization is not something that we do here. And so it really hits me hard when I go down. I just pulled what they are calling the San Bernardino, California Lucky 13. I took the 13 worst labeled dogs out of San Bernardino. I cut all communications off with the shelter, the other rescues involved, because I feel they're all involved in breeding these. Dogs. Even the shelter. Not one of these dogs out of 13 was fixed. Not one of the dogs out of 13 had a rabies vaccine. One of the rescues tried to get me to transport a dog intercontinentally into Canada without a rabies vaccine. That is highly, highly, highly illegal. No dog should leave a shelter unfixed, let alone without a rabies vaccine. They're using high doses of trazodone. When you do this with a large breed dog, it causes incontinence. That is considered to be a medical thing in the shelters where they can put the dogs down for it. Okay? I had a dog with a bite so bad that he was listed as possibly having cancer. I just had him taken to a vet here in Montana. It's not cancer. He was attacked by his kennel mates. Yesterday, a dog was found mauled to death in its kennel in San Bernardino, and they're still adopting the dogs out that mauled it to death because they're taking 5 dogs in kennels that should hold up to 2. And so I just did a massive trip. I brought back 13 dogs. I've had them evaluated, and I'm building a case against San Bernardino. I'm building a case against Redline Rescue. I don't understand how you sent 8 of your dogs with me, and you can afford to sit in a Mexican resort while you're being sued, and you couldn't even pay to have one of those dogs fixed. You didn't pay for one rabies vaccine. But you have the nerve to call me and and argue with me. But Red Line Rescue also had 2 dogs abandoned at a Washington State gas station. And I'm going to expose them for this. Because while you're blaming all the other rescues, you are abandoning dogs, and you got sued by a boarding facility for abandoning the dogs that I brought out to Montana, took care of by myself. Then you guys wanted to bitch because I used an RV to bring them around to meet and greets instead of caging them up in a U-Haul like some other assholes do and leaving them when they don't get adopted. I didn't do that. In the midst of 3 police reports and a domestic violence situation, I worked with other rescues in the local shelter and animal control to have these dogs evaluated, vaccinated, fixed, and adopted out. None of my dogs have ever gone missing. They've never been abandoned or found deceased due to unnatural causes. I had 1 put down for behavioral euthanasia out of 20 years of rescue. That dog bit 3 kids. Okay? So I'm pretty disturbed right now in California. If you go in and look at all the dogs I just saved, go on and look at the list on the euthanasia list. This is a breeding circle. It's involving the state of California. Governor New Scumbag doesn't give a shit about trafficking survivors, whether they're humans or animals, and it's out of control. I don't see why every state is not as strict as ours. It should be. You go to jail automatically without bail for any kind of animal abandonment or abuse case. And, you know, I had a couple of networkers and stuff. They slandered my rescue. They talked shit on me. And I'm not that great with people, but let me tell you something about my rescues and my dogs. I was in an RV living with a man that had duct tape, all kinds of stuff, zip ties, things he shouldn't have in a bag with my personal undergarments. So the police said it wasn't enough to do anything. And instead of getting myself to safety, I took care of my rescue dogs first. It really bothers me that I look out there and I actually see so many dogs that are rescued, that are used for fighting, that are left at gas stations, that are abandoned, that are used for hog hunting. These dogs are meant to be pets. They are not for San Bernardino or Texas or any state to let them be used for hunting purposes. Okay? Not things like hog hunting. These dogs should never be emaciated after being in the shelter for a month to the point that they were almost dead. Oh no, you're okay. I do lives. I do rescue. Thank you, honey. You too. Thank you so much. Stay warm. Yeah. Okay, guys, look. I'm sorry. Give me a minute, guys. I had to get them some stuff. So, in the midst of this, I was being told by the local sheriff's office to get out of that county. However, I couldn't do so without securing the county. However, I couldn't do so without securing the rescues I had first. I didn't abandon them. I didn't not take care of them. I am over $2,000 out of pocket.
She did not find homes for any of the dogs. She simply took them to another shelter. She claims she rescued them, but all she did was transport them to a different shelter.
I had to get an extra vehicle. Like, I really went about, and I'm not bitching about money. You can't put a price on a life. Okay? But this is my point. I understand there's a lot of people out there that scam and rescue, but I truly rescue.
You do scam and you do not rescue.
I rescue the dogs that are left behind. I rescue the dogs that they say can't be trained. I take the large breed dogs that nobody wants. And I work with them and I'm good with them. And I do the best I can by them. And it really hurts when people attack my rescue, and then I go online after being offline for so long and see the biggest fraud out there right now apparently is January Marie, and it's absolutely shocking and flooring to me. And so I get where everybody is apprehensive, but get your facts before you start slandering somebody, because those 13 dogs would be deceased right now had I not gotten an extra vehicle, drove them all back without rabies vaccines and without being fixed. I could have gone to jail. The state does not play here. So now they're upset, and the rescue is upset because now you're going to get, now you're under investigation. Now you're under investigation. Red Lion and San Bernardino are under investigation. Now you want to say somebody took your dogs, and you want to get mad when the Montana Police Department says, why did you wait 3 weeks to say this? Because now it's a personal issue. Because now it's a personal issue. Because I cut off all contact with with Red Lion after he abandoned 8 dogs in boarding. And he does have a lawsuit filed against him for it. He did ask me to drive to California on November 10th and lie for him. I'm not happy with the boarding facility. I don't like the guy. I don't like the way that he deals with the dogs. They're on cement slabs. They don't have food and water adequately. It's dirty. It's cold. However, I'm not going to lie on somebody because a rescue is posting all over Instagram that they're at a lush Mexican resort, that you couldn't pay for a rabies vaccine or to fix any of the 8 dogs that I took out of boarding because you couldn't afford to pay it. Yeah, and this is what I've been dealing with lately. This is absolutely, positively what I have been dealing with lately. And it's become a shit show. And, I do anti-trafficking work as well. And I'm working on something right now involving minors. I relocated to do this. As you see, I'm in a hotel room with my babies. I got some leads and videos with some kids that shouldn't have been in the situation that they are. I don't work for or with the police. I am a private person that survived human trafficking, and I get moved around a lot, but I do my best to help other trafficking survivors, whether they're human or animal. And I'm a quiet person. I've stayed to myself these days. I don't get involved in politics. However, California needs to be held accountable. You're breaking federal laws. Governor Newsom needs to be taken out of office. He allows human and dog trafficking. San Bernardino, East Valley, they're all trafficking dogs. Trafficking, is involved in the breeding of them and passing around of them. I can tell you, if you look at all the dogs I just rescued, all the dogs that need to be saved right now look the same. They're getting money for sending them to medical facilities to be experimented on. I'm not asking you to slander or talk about anybody. I have solid proof for everything I'm talking about.
No, you don't, because you don't ever show any proof.
I can hold myself accountable. But share, adopt, don't shop. Please, adopt these dogs out. Get them out of that bloodbath over there at San Bernardino. I have nightmares over that, being in that shelter, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. I'm horrified. But pray for us as we are on our new life here. And, know that my heart really is in my rescue. And not just to humans, but dogs. Like I said, I'm not politically tied. I don't work with anybody. I certainly don't work with or for the government or the police. I'm a private person. I do what I can, one person or one animal at a time. And I keep it going. Because I myself am a trafficking survivor with a Fed that went bad on my case that threatened my life. And I still do dog rescue through all of this. So if you don't have anything nice to say, pray for me. You don't have to hate me or slander me, because they're very strict laws I'm following here. And I just have to laugh when people say things, because you go right to jail in Montana. It's not a question. If even partial of the gossip about me going around was true, I would probably be doing a life sentence. It is easier to adopt a child than it is a dog.
And you have a problem with that? You think it should be easier to get a child than a dog?
Our laws are very strict here. But this shelter is definitely abusing these animals. And I mean, inside of the shelter. I'm not an animal behaviorist, but I've been doing this, like I said, for a long time. And these dogs are definitely being abused inside of San Bernardino shelter. And I'm not going to stop until I get somewhere with it, especially since Governor Newsom allows trafficking of humans in his jurisdiction as well. And when you call up to make a complaint, well, what do you want us to do about it? How about your fucking job? And no human or animal should ever be trafficked. Period. But I haven't been on in a while. So I just wanted to jump on here quick. Say hi to everybody. Let you know that, we're okay. I'm just doing some different work at this point. I had a very tedious rescue out of San Bernardino, and I got a lot of heat on it. And these people don't even realize I'm working with animal control and people here to hold San Bernardino accountable. And I won't stop until it happens. That shelter needs a serious rehaul. And, we have to be their voice. We have to. So share out the dogs for me, guys. Please. If you see a San Bernardino dog, share it out. Any dog, really. I just am so traumatized from what I have found out and witnessed with my own eyes on these dogs, and the behavior of the networkers, rescuers, and shelters involved in the breeding and trafficking of these dogs. It happens every day, just like with humans. I ask you to be vigilant, be aware, especially with our black dogs and kitties right now. It's Halloween. We're having incidents everywhere across the nation, not just with animals, but humans, on all this stuff. So, I can't fix the past. I can't change what I've done in my past as a young woman. But as a lady, as a mother, as a child and animal advocate, I won't stop. I'll always stick up for them. I survived the worst of the worst. And by the grace of God, I have the ability to protect them, and that's what I'm going to do. Have a good night, guys.
So she claims to be a child abuse advocate and protector, yet has child abuse charges in her past. This is the third and final part. This is from today, November 2nd. I have not watched this yet, so let's watch and see what happens next.
It was a norm in my household for somebody to be intoxicated or under the influence. And growing up as a kid, I got a lot of bad habits from that. I learned how to not be respectful to those that didn't use substances and alcohol. And I believed that it was part of an everyday lifestyle because everybody in my family did it. And I am just one of those people that is an alcoholic and an addict, and it just made everything worse. And when I lost my oldest daughter's father in Afghanistan, it made it 10 times worse. And so I struggled really hard for my sobriety, and I've been sober for 14 years plus. I'm 21 years off of opiate abuse. And, this is just horrifying. I know how I feel with 3 police reports against a man that tried to unalive me very recently. He had duct tape, he had zip ties, the things that were with my underclothes in a bag that I found when the sheriffs came to help me leave the RV that we were in.
So this is what she's claiming with the RV. that the guy that she moved into the RV with was abusive. That's what she's claiming.
I'm an advocate against domestic violence. All I could think to myself for this last week is, how did this happen? I'm grateful for my sobriety today. I'm grateful that I have enough faith in my life that I was able to make it through this. And if I'm missing your comments, oh, there they are. My glasses are right here. Silly me, huh? I only see a couple at a time here. If you private message me, that would be great. But I just, this is very important for people to understand what's going on. I hope this does not become a fad across the state, and that every safe house in the state starts allowing alcohol and substance abuse within, while you're staying in the safe house. I truly hope that this does not become a fad across the state, because it could cost people their lives. I just don't even know what else to say at this point. I've worked really hard on my sobriety, and, what the safe house did was atrocious. However, I'm still sober, and wherever there are children involved, I am going to stand up and speak out. If it puts me out in the snow, my 2 fur babies, and it saves a child's life, that's all it would have taken for somebody to stand up for me as a child and say something one time. Nobody did. Everybody said, oh, that couldn't happen. Don't talk about what happens in somebody else's house. What goes on in someone's house stays in their house. And because of that upbringing and the allowing of seeing so much illegal activity throughout my own family, and it being justified, alcohol and substance abuse being justified, I've come a long way. I've been SA'd since the age of 3. I've been physically abused by my adoptive mother, who's called me a dirty Indian and adopted me at 2 months my whole life. I had a lot of things to overcome. And I did. But this is about awareness. Please be very careful going into a domestic violence shelter or a human trafficking shelter that allows substance and alcohol use while you stay there, because it becomes a very, very unsafe environment. You have a bunch of people that are not in a mental frame to be taking in alcohol as they survive domestic violence and human trafficking. Alcohol is a depressant. On top of it, they're allowed to use alcohol and substances on the safe house grounds where their children are with them. So now, not only do you have the parents being allowed to misuse alcohol and substances on the safe house grounds, you have children witnessing this, thinking that this is a normal way of living. These people are gaining funding in large amounts. They're misusing funding to allow this to happen in their safe house, okay? I'm not looking for miracles, guys. Even if somebody can help me out with a day or two, it gives me another day or two here to contact some more churches, because that is basically the only availability of help at this point. And I just moved into this area, being relocated by the sheriff's office. So I haven't been able to get out too much. I'm on foot because I'm epileptic. I tried the best I could. And sadly, this is a result of alcohol and substance abuse allowed in a safe house, and I'm not agreeing with it. I will never agree with alcohol and substance abuse allowed in a safe house where children are housed. And so I'm standing my ground. I will stand my ground because I was that child nobody stuck up for or spoke up for. That is not an environment for the kids. You do not house kids in a safe house and allow the parents to legally use substances and alcohol.
I just want to reiterate, I don't think that what she's saying about this safe house is true. I really don't. because she just lies so much. I think that what happened was she returned to the facility. She was intoxicated. They actually probably called her out on that, and she got into an argument with them and got kicked out. That's just my suspicion, because all this stuff about how she cares about the kids there, and that there was all this drinking and substance abuse going on there. She never brought any of that up when she was living there, ever. I just don't believe this, because she, again, bashes every single person or place that has helped her in the past.
So the price I paid was being exited. And the reason behind it was for intimidation. If you're intimidated, then you obviously know what you're doing is wrong. You obviously know housing people and allowing them to use alcohol and substances on your safe house property is not just morally wrong, but I don't even see how you guys are getting funding from the state and the government to allow this to happen. What happens the first time one of these domestic violence victims or human trafficking victims intoxicates themselves to the point that they cannot function? What happens when they get drunk and roll over on a newborn and the baby gets smothered? Matter of fact, they kicked somebody out not even a month before this for that very reason, and then now they turn around and allow alcohol use on the safe house grounds. Left a mother and a baby under a year old outside with nowhere to go. To a month later saying, okay, well, it's okay, you guys can use. You guys don't bring any substances on the property, but you can bring alcohol back all day. What happens when one of these parents need more beer and put their child in a car and drive off the safe house grounds and unalives themselves, the child, or somebody else that is out there driving? It's inappropriate. It is inappropriate. Please, guys, if anything else, spread this, okay? Because this is not okay. And if you were trying to message me, I'm just going to talk for about another 10 or 15 minutes. This is very important to me. Those of us that are in recovery have to work very hard. It doesn't matter if you have a day or a year or a million years clean, if it's from substances or alcohol. And putting alcohol and putting substances into the mix and allowing victims of crime to take these onto a safe house property and use them where they're living with their children and other people's children and kicking out people that are going to report them for this? Are you kidding me? When I spoke to the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, it really was a little bit crazy. Thank you, KT. I appreciate that, honey. I'm at a loss right now, guys. It's sad to know that funding is so limited right now, and places like the Safe House is getting grants and funding to allow alcohol and substance abuse on the property. You can't bring substances on the property. However, if you go there under the influence, they don't care. And I have sadly sat there, and before opening my mouth, I sadly sat there and watched mothers sleep all day, not tend to their kids, not make food, not clean up the kitchen, and now they have a free ride. Now they can stay in this safe house turned flop house and get as drunk and high as they want without consequence. They don't have to work. They don't have to go to therapy. This is not rehabilitating victims of crime. This is allowing them to fall back into old habits or gain bad habits that are not going to fix the problem. Now, I speak out for all the children that are in that safe house who have no voice. I speak out for their parents who are not being deterred from the use of alcohol as is allowed now to be brought onto the property and used openly. This is a recipe for disaster. These kids have been through enough. watching domestic violence between their parents. They do not and should not be subjected to it in a safe house that is getting grants to house these people. They're going to go from a safe house to losing their kids and having to go into rehabilitation because the safe house saw a way to get grants to house these people and put it under independent living. Encouraging substance and alcohol use at a safe house is not safe, and not safe anywhere. But there is no, like I said, there is no safe house, there is no homeless shelter in this country that allows you to take in and use alcoholic beverages on the property except for this safe house in Bozeman, Montana. There is no safe house, and I am a trafficking survivor. I have never seen a safe house, and the police clarified like they did with me when I filed this police report against the safe house for the safety of the children. Okay? There is nobody that allows alcohol use on the grounds except for this one. And they're getting funding and misusing it. Sadly, it's going to take for somebody to lose their life at the hands of another person under the influence coming out of this safe house for anything to be changed or stopped. I couldn't imagine being a small child and being around substances or alcohol or, I know as a kid, I always knew when one of my family members were under the influence. Imagine how these kids feel in a safe house full of women that are allowed to ingest alcoholic beverages inside of the safe house. What happens when they can't buy it anymore and they go through DTs? The safe house already hands out gift cards for marijuana cards. Are they going to hand out gift cards for the local beer joint next? Hey, let's be honest. I mean, they're giving everybody a free ride to use substances and alcohol. Free housing. The police confirmed that it's private property. They're not allowed on the property. I was told by workers in this safe house to never call the police. You're supposed to call the guy that runs the security in this area, in this safe house first. If you call the police, they are not allowed inside the safe house grounds without an employee coming to let them in. So basically, the safe house is allowing illegal activity, use of alcohol and substances, use of alcohol inside of the safe house, and in an emergency, you're not allowed to call the police. And the officer that I filed this complaint against the safe house with confirmed they can't even do a safety check on this property without being told to leave the property. So what happens when one of these people get alcohol poisoning, or they get drunk and roll over on a baby or a child and need medical help? They have to wait for an employee to come, for EMS, firefighters, or police to enter the safe house property? Yes, and you can verify this with the Bozeman Police Department. If you call Bozeman PD and ask them about the Haven Safe House and their rules, they will verify to you they are not allowed on that safe house property without an employee there. So how the hell are you going to have a house full of Narcan and alcohol and lax rules and not allow police, firefighter, EMS on the property without an employee there to help somebody?
So she just gave the name and the location of the safe house. I don't know how that works, but I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Look, I'm not asking for sympathy here, but at least call the Bozeman Police Department, guys, and make complaints against the Haven before a child or somebody gets unalived by this absurd rule of allowing substance abuse, the absurd rule of allowing clients to bring in alcohol to a safe house and use them on safe house grounds where kids are. I can tell you, when they first found me about 5 years ago, going on 6 years ago, I couldn't get into a safe house unless I could pass drug and alcohol tests. Now, and have alcohol open And when I went to file a complaint, they exited me.
No, you didn't ask to file a complaint. You admitted you showed up back at the facility intoxicated and cussed them out to the point where they kicked you out and they said they felt intimidated.
So, you know, this is really important that we share this information out. This is very, very important. I'm not done with this. And I plan on taking it to my state senators. And I'm doing everything I can to shut funding down so that there is nobody else that suffers through this, or that their safety is compromised because of drug and alcohol use allowed on safe house grounds. Now, the drug, you can't use them and bring them in there, but they will give you gift cards to go purchase marijuana if you have a medical marijuana card.
Now, if that's true, I have a question. You have admitted to smoking marijuana. How many of those cards did you use?
It's unbelievable. It's sickening. And if anybody wants to verify with that, please call the Bozeman Police Department in Bozeman, Montana, and give them this number right here. They will verify I filed formal charges against the safe house for discouraging help from police and EMS in the case of an emergency without an employee on the property. They will also verify that this complaint was filed and I'm taking it as far up through the state level as I can. However, in the meantime, I've been in my new area for a week, and the domestic violence shelter had enough to pay for my room for a week. I'm looking at 10 to 14 days interim without any place to stay to get into my new apartment under the housing program that I fit into. So frustrating. This is so frustrating. I'm not sure what to say about this anymore. Except, ladies, if you're in the Montana state, steer clear of the Haven Safe House. It has turned into a flop house over the summer, allowing alcohol and substance abuse, allowing alcohol on the premises, and anybody that complained against this has been exited, including a young mother and her daughter under a year old, including a human trafficking survivor that came from out of state and was put out in an hour in her van with her dog, including me, who has my 2 dogs. I don't know how this was ever approved, but I know that a police report was filed and all of this can be verified. So guys, be vigilant in seeking help for domestic violence. You know, I have a pop-up camper that's not going to survive this at all. And as of tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, that's my only option because of the lack of funding. If you guys are interested in helping me out, you can call the hotel here and pay directly. The owner is one of the only hotel owners in this area that does not allow any alcohol or substance use on his hotel grounds. He's an amazing man that reaches out to domestic violence and human trafficking survivors, and this is a safe haven for us. He's a great guy. And do you know what he must go through in this area as a hotel owner to be the only one to stand up against all of this and take in survivors of crime?
You said all these positive things about the previous hotel and the owner as well at first. Then, when you couldn't stay any longer, you bashed that hotel and you accused them and the owner of a whole bunch of crimes.
And to be ostracized by other businesses in the area because that's what happens to him. Yet his kindness and his family's kindness is unending. This is a horrible battle against domestic violence and human trafficking in this world. Too many people have normalized abusive behavior, and not just by humans, but abusive behavior involving alcohol. Having an open door policy is one thing. Great, don't bring substances on the property. But what happens when somebody comes home after a 10-day binge and they're losing their mind and they snap out in the safe house? What happens when somebody's going through withdrawals or DTs? What happens if one of these kids gets one of the many boxes of Narcan throughout this whole house and accidentally ingests it? That's my question. That's my question. You know? How this is happening, I don't know. But I know that this is real. And I know that I filed the police report. I know that I'm going up the chain to file grievances and to shut this place down. Because somebody is going to end up very hurt or unalived. You know, another friend of mine was found because the Safe House believes in posting their address publicly as a part of an independent living study. Well, your study is failing because one of the women was found and attacked by her assaulters and almost unalived and has nowhere to go. And for that reason, that is why she's still there.
You just a few minutes ago gave out the name and the city of the Safe House.
Let's be honest, what's going on here, guys? What in the heck is going on? So, I'll be doing another live this afternoon. I just wanted to come on here this morning and share this with you guys. You know, if you're looking for a safe house and you're in the state of Montana, please steer clear of Bozeman. Alcohol and substance abuse should never be allowed on safe house grounds, especially when there are children living there. However, I'm not the person to make those calls. I'm just a victim of threatening to turn them in for it and being exited for intimidation. Nobody intimidated you. I told the truth. You're allowing alcohol and substance abuse in the safe house. You're allowing people to get intoxicated and drive off the safe house grounds with their children in the car. Not just jeopardizing themselves while under the influence, but anybody out on the road. It's not okay. It is not okay. And I'll always stand by that. I was a child that witnessed this behavior growing up, and I was an atrocious adult for years before I got myself under control. These kids in that safe house have been through the fuck enough. They don't need to be subjected to a house full of parents that are getting intoxicated because the safe house believes in independent living. Alcohol is a depressant. It brings on depression. It brings on all kinds of things that jeopardizes the well-being of the parents and the child in the safe house. It jeopardizes the workers, especially since the police are not allowed on their safe house property because it's private property. And if you doubt me, call the Bozeman police and ask, please, by all means. And like I said again, if you have any doubts, call and verify I did make a complaint. I'm going up the chain to try to stop this. I do not think that any child or survivor of domestic violence and human trafficking should be subjected to staying into a safe house where alcohol is allowed on the safe house grounds and substance abuse is allowed with an open door policy. And because I spoke out against it, they exited me. Like I said, I am in a motel room until Monday morning. I had 10 to 14 days to get into housing. If you need to verify this, let me share with you a program that they're doing for people that have medical issues. I just beat 2 types of cancer. I have a heart condition. And so this is the doctor's office that does the rapid relocation for people that have health issues, that have permanent disabilities, and I do. And they have me in a local motel, and they were able to pay for a week. Monday morning at 10 a.m., I will have nowhere to go for 10 to 14 days. I got almost 5,000 followers, guys. I am imploring for your help. You do not have to send me money. You can call this hotel directly and tell them that you're calling to pay on my room, and they will accept payment by phone. Like I said, the owner is a great man. His family is a great family. They don't allow drugs and alcohol use on their hotel property. Everybody knows this. It's a safe place for domestic violence and human trafficking survivors. But with federal shutdowns, how can these domestic violence shelters pay for the interim time of people getting into housing? So, I've reached out to a lot of people. Maybe I'm just not networking correctly. I don't know. But I know that I've worked hard for my sobriety. I've worked hard to overcome domestic violence and human trafficking. And I'm fleeing domestic violence. And I have a police report number. And you can pay my room directly by calling and giving the number of my room, which I would share with you on a private message if you could. I have no other choice right now. I'm jeopardizing myself right now. Fortunately, my assaulter and assailant has no way to leave the area that they are in right now. And so I'm really trying to just get into my own place, which, the housing authority, it just takes about 10 to 14 days to get me into a place. It's very cold in Montana, guys. I need to have a stint in my heart. I can't do all this from the street. I can't. And I think it's atrocious that a safe house even put me in this situation knowing I needed this surgery. Knowing all of this. I was working 2 jobs all summer. Go back into my videos, you'll see.
I've looked at all your videos. I have all of your live streams recorded for the past year and a half. And you did not work 2 jobs over the summer or at any point.
So that's what I have to say. Alcohol and substance abuse should never be allowed to be consumed on safe house grounds. The safe house I was in allows this to happen. They lost multiple employees this summer. They have kicked out many people for exactly what they're allowing to happen now. They're getting funding for transitional housing. And the people that are working are left out because they have failed QR codes. And it's a first come, first served. They're housing people that are not doing anything to better their situation.
You mean people like you? Because you did not do anything to improve your situation while you were there at all.
And I get it. I've been to hell and back. My ex-husband tried to unalive me and my son, and he took his life years later over not being able to deal with it. I have a daughter that goes missing on Fetty all the time in Pittsburgh. I have 2 other daughters that hate me and blame me for the death of my son. But I don't give up. I beat stomach cancer. I beat breast cancer. I overcame human trafficking. I am a voice for the voiceless. And this safe house really is confused if they thought I was going to sit back and be quiet and not expose that they're allowing alcohol use on the premises, and kicked me out because I threatened to make a complaint about it. Like I said, here's the police report, guys. Where did I put it? I just put my notebook somewhere. Here is the start of the grievance process against the safe house allowing alcohol use on the premises and not allowing police on the grounds because they are a private entity and they can do so. So somebody can get intoxicated, have a mental breakdown, and destroy the whole safe house, and the cops can't come until an employee shows up to let them in. Isn't that comforting? It wasn't comforting to me. It wasn't comforting to me, nor was it appropriate. And I spoke up, and this is where I'm at. I know you guys see a lot of my videos, and I might seem a little, but I'm not. I've been through a lot. And, I'm working the best I can with my caseworker at my doctor's office, Pureview. My baby cousin, who's expecting her 6th child, has been helping me as much as she can. And it's a lot. But I am 10 to 14 days from getting into my own apartment. I have overcome some of the most unbelievable health and personal issues, and I'm just trying to be a role model for other survivors out here. I'm not trying to look for sympathetic help or people to feel sorry for my situation. I'm trying to get this spread word out. Alcohol use is not okay in a safe house. Period. Allowing people to come to the house under the influence of substances where children who are survivors of crime are living is not acceptable. Getting government funding and state funding to house people to use substances and alcohol on a safe house grounds is not okay. Having a private entity and not allowing police onto the grounds without a worker there when there's no workers at night is unacceptable. Okay? Believe me when I tell you that the police department in Bozeman, Montana will verify all of this. They will verify every single bit of this. This is the police report. I was exited because I threatened to tell on a safe house for misusing funds and allowing alcohol and substance abuse in the safe house where children live.
Again, you previously admitted that you showed up to the safe house intoxicated and cussed out the staff to the point that they felt intimidated by you. That's why you were kicked out.
They put me and my dogs with 1 hour to retrieve all of my belongings outside in the freaking snow because I threatened to turn them in for misuse of funding. So, what is the world coming to? Oh, you're having a bad time, you've been abused, here, have a drink in your room. When you flip out because you're depressed and you're using a depressant, we'll just kick you out and make it seem like you were the problem. We won't focus on the fact that we allow substance and alcohol abuse on our safe house grounds, right? A place that's supposed to be a safe haven for children. Oh, we're just going to let your mom drink themselves into oblivion and put you in the car and drive off the safe house grounds because you deserve independent living. I've never heard such insanity in my life. Ever. I don't even know what to say. Like, I have a lot of years clean under my belt, okay? And I'm just appalled. And, you know, I am an advocate and offer resources for survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence.
No, you don't.
And sadly, I got pulled in by an abusive man and kicked out of a safe house because I made a complaint about alcohol use being allowed on the premises. We were thrown out with an hour to get our stuff. Look, all I can do is ask you guys to share this information. Do not go to the Haven in Bozeman, Montana. Whether you use or not, the whole house is under an intoxicated, cloud. Because the safe house allows alcohol and substance abuse and no police contact on the property without an employee. There are no employees that work there at night. How is this allowed? How is this safe house allowed to fucking get funding to house active addicts and alcoholics? And do you know what kind of people are going into the safe house now? Because they don't require you to prove that you're a victim of crime here.
So that means you did not have to prove that you were a victim of any crime to get into that safe house. Interesting.
They openly and publicly share their address because they believe that this is a new way of independent living for domestic violence and human trafficking survivors. Oh, honey, I'm so tired. I have until Monday morning to figure out how to pay for my room. There's no funding with the federal government shut down. And, my goal here is to make sure that this does not happen to anybody else. It's really hard to be an addict and an alcoholic and struggle and to fight for years for your sobriety. And to become a victim of crime with a validated police report. And to have a validated report number with Polaris as a human trafficking survivor. To enter a safe house that made you feel so comfortable to you going to get 2 jobs, you're on the housing list. And they turn around and they allow alcohol and substances to be used, that you can bring alcohol into the safe house and consume it on property and then get in a car with your child and take off to get more under the influence. You know, I've worked so hard to get where I'm at, and I need surgery, and I need a stent in my heart, and this is just absolutely disgusting. How does this safe house expect anybody to get anything done when they're under the influence all the time and the police are prohibited from entering the property? You think I'm kidding? Call Bozeman PD right now. Bozeman, Montana. Tell them that there's somebody on live doing a live feed, and you wanted to verify whether or not they are allowed on the Haven Safe House property. And they will tell you no. The officer that filed the complaint for me against them told me that he's gone down there just to do like perimeter and been called by dispatch and told he has to get off the property. I don't know what these people have going on, but you know, I thought it was really cool at first. Oh, they'll give me gift cards to get medical marijuana. Guess what? My card expired and I did not redo it. I'm getting off the crap. The safe house made it seem like it was okay all year round. Well, my doctor is saying no. It's not good for my heart. It's not good for pain. Yeah, I am a recovering addict, and I am 21 years off of opiates. So I don't have the mentality to have pain medication outside of a hospital setting. So you know what? I sucked it up, buttercup. I went through chemo, radiation, cancer treatment, no pain meds. But now I've overcome the cancer, and I removed myself from the safe house that encourages and pays for marijuana use while you're there. They encourage, and they will give you gift cards to buy alcohol and marijuana.
Wait, so first it was just gift cards for marijuana. Now there's gift cards for marijuana and alcohol? That's new. Okay.
And they okay the use of alcohol inside of the safe house. So you think that, what does somebody in this situation do? Any advice, guys? I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it.
Maybe get a job and stop screwing over all the people who have helped you and being so ungrateful to those who have helped you all throughout your past.
Because I have nowhere to go Monday, and the local places here are out of federal funding with the shutdown, and there is nowhere else to go at this point. And this is a very sad situation because I stood up for my own sobriety and the safety of children in this safe house as allowing the alcohol and substance abuse to be rampant through the safe house. And the police are not allowed to enter the safe house grounds without an employee present, and there's nobody there at night. What happens when somebody goes into alcoholic shock or poisoning? What happens if a child gets into the parent's alcohol? I don't even know what to say. I implore you to please share this live. Share the information that I'm posting.
I also want to point out that in part 1, when she first talked about getting kicked out of the safe house, she never mentioned anything about the police not being able to access the property, or about how there has to be an employee present for the police to go on the property, or about filing a police report about that. She never brought any of that up back on October 24th when she first told the story about getting kicked out of the safe house. Now, today, this is the first time that that part of the story is getting added in. Interesting.
Safe houses like this need to be shut down before children and people end up unalived because of their lax rules, because they can get a bunch of government grants and funding, and they're just taking anybody in so that they can show the turnover of the funding. Oh, I just, it's so frustrating, you know? spend years working on sobriety and you're a victim of crime in a safe house that you have to leave because you filed a complaint about alcohol use on the property and they said it's intimidation. For them to give you an hour in freezing weather and snow to get you and your dogs out and find somewhere to go. All while going through domestic violence from a local that you had met and thought was a nice guy, never raised his voice, never did anything wrong. And the police tell you that he's been a predator for 20 years in the area and walks a fine line. They told me to relocate. They helped me, and I did. And I just, I'm without help in my hotel for about 10 days, guys. Share the live for educational purposes. If nothing else, please. This is a very dangerous situation. It is not a safe house. It is a flop house at this point. The employees are under the influence of marijuana. They're encouraging and allowing the use of alcohol.
But you yourself admitted that you used alcohol and marijuana while you were living in the safe house.
They are handing out gift cards that people are able to use to buy alcohol and substances and go back to the safe house grounds and safely consume and leave to go get more with their children in the car. Very scary. It is called The Haven. It is in Bozeman, Montana. Like I said, verify. I filed the police report against these people. I'm working my way up the federal government so that no child should have to live in a home surrounded by alcohol use that is meant to be a safe house for victims of crime. If you guys can help, great. If not, please shoot the city council over there in Bozeman an email. Let them know that you are aware of alcohol use on the safe house grounds there where they don't allow police activity without a employee present and they don't have any employees at night. You could save the life of a child. That is all I ask. Please, I implore with you to make a complaint. Stand up for the children in this safe house. No child deserves to be subjected to this, ever. Me and my babies will make it. We've made it this far. God is my witness. He's got me. And if you private message me, I can give you the information. The motel I'm at, it's about $60, $65 a night. The guy here allows no substance or alcohol abuse on the property. He's the only safe house for victims of crime in the area. I implore, if you can help, to please do so. And please pass this information on. I appreciate your guys' time this morning and keep us in prayer. Thank you.